Anyone involved in buggy today knows there are a lot of rules and regulations concerning every aspect of the race. Ann Wichner, formerly advisor to the Buggy Sweepstakes Committee, tells a story of how those regulations have evolved.
And a lot of organizations that were, in 5th and 6th place started to do things like cut corners as it related to rules. And I was getting word of that from alumni and people who I knew who weren't involved in the running of buggy, but made me more aware as their advisor that we need to watch out for some activities that organizations were doing to kind of do what they could to cut, hundreds of seconds off. There were a lot of things that were happening. In '86, we had a bad accident at the top of Hill 2, and an organization that was heating their wheels had a flash explosion in their truck. And luckily, no one was seriously injured. People were hurt and there were burns. But that point in time was a revelation for me that I'm just going to put my foot down and do what I can to help the students, regardless if students get upset because some buggies were going to become eventually obsolete because of some of the rules we put in effect. But it's too important, the safety of students, and also this tradition. What can we do to keep up with, an organization such as Buggy, to keep it alive, not squelch students' technology, but make it a safe and a fun event. We ended up having the rules rewritten with a group of alumni. The newly elected Buggy chair people for 86, 87 had a tough job because they were the executive committee that was responsible for Buggy happening in a new way. Stricter rules. Those rules became quite tedious. They went from something like 11 pages to 109 pages, and this is my addition from 2 years ago, and there could have been rules added since then. But anyway, we formed this executive committee. That first year we made it mandatory for all Buggy organizations, that was in the fall, to review these rules and read through them. And they're tedious. They talk about everything imaginable.
It was the accident in 1986 that brought to light the need for stiffer buggy safety rules.
When we had this accident, it was just, telling that only 2 or 3 organizations had fire extinguishers, and that was just unfortunate. A good thing, but also it was telling that we needed these organizations to understand how serious Buggy was. So we put all kinds of rules in effect, and because there was a fire and we're using city streets, the safety or the fire marshal came up, and at any point anyone from the city can come up and shut us down. They can just demand a look at buggies, and we wanted to accommodate them, and we also wanted to involve them, but have the students understand what was their responsibility so that we could keep continuing this. So from Buggy 87 on, the environmental safety people on our campus work with the Buggy chairs. They do a very elementary training session on fire safety. The executive committee, the sweepstakes committee, has to demand that all organizations have extinguishers in their truck, and we help provide them so that they're not taking them from other places on campus. Fire marshal from the city comes up on Buggy Day and can go in at any Buggy truck that he wants. And that doesn't sit well with some people, but the Buggy chairs know that, and it's just something we have to do. This is too serious. We need to, this is just important. So we've kind of come past that. Helmets were not required up until 1987. Buggies were expected to be built so that a driver could withstand impact.
As would be expected, the new rules did not come into effect without some controversy.
Work that they had done had to be undone. Some buggies had to be totally scrapped because of the way they were designed, that they couldn't accommodate a driver wearing a helmet. We struggled for a couple years with the two-wheel buggy phenomenon, and it was just decided that organizations with students that are 18 to 22-year-olds aren't capable of designing a two-wheel buggy that's going to be stable on a course that has stones and debris, and it's technically just impossible to design the rules to make it okay for them to build them. And it was sort of a tough one. We talked about, should there only be four-wheel buggies? If there are three-wheel buggies, the third wheel be in the back, not in the front. I mean, this was hard, and this wasn't done to be punitive. It was done to protect the longevity of buggy, which is a fabulous tradition, and to ensure that there are safety standards built in. We had drivers training, and they still do that. We just went back and looked at the program as thoroughly as we could, and I think we did a great job.